We used to have a media landscape, and to be perfectly honest with you, we used to have a society that was compartmentalized. Tom Brady, he's been in the spotlight for what? Over 20 years now. When you saw Tom Brady in the media, when you saw Tom Brady in interviews, what was the focus of the discussion? Football. If he was being interviewed on ESPN, they weren't asking Tom Brady if he was voting for George Bush, or as his supporters like to call him, W. They didn't ask Tom Brady if he was voting for Al Gore, better known as the inventor of the internet. Tom Brady was speaking in a public setting. Most of the time, he was talking about football. Same goes with entertainers. I remember when Howard Stern signed with Sirius, I think it was back in 2004, 2005. He agreed to an interview with Bill O'Reilly on Fox News. Now, Bill O'Reilly, typically he was a hard news program, but when he interviewed Howard Stern, they weren't talking about social issues. They weren't talking about illegal immigration. He didn't ask Howie his thoughts on illegal immigration and a border wall. Why? No one cared. No one cared about Howard Stern and illegal immigration. People listened to Howard Stern to be entertained. During the 90s, they watched him on E, hoping a glitch in the sensors would happen so you could see the strippers in their natural habitat. I know this because my own dad used to watch Howard Stern every night. When he thought everyone was in bed, he would lower the volume on the TV and start watching the Stern Show. I would quietly sneak into the living room as a kid, pretending to get water or something to eat. My dad, he would snatch the remote to change the channel. He didn't want to get busted. In my 39 years of life, I have never seen my dad move faster than he did changing the channel so he wasn't busted watching strippers on Howard Stern. Society used to be compartmentalized. Entertainment media used to be compartmentalized. You listen to Bill O'Reilly for political analysis. You listen to someone like Charles Barkley for entertaining analysis of the NBA. But over the last couple of years, everything seems to have been fused together. There's no longer any distance. There's no longer any compartmentalization. Athletes have become political activists. Sports shows have become politicized. Hell, there's even a political element sometimes in certain reality shows. You can't escape it. There's no longer an escape from the fungus of politics. I guess this is the reason that CNN thought it was a good idea to bring Charles Barkley to their dump of a network. They look at the ratings for Inside the NBA. They see how the show has maintained success over the last 3 decades. I know the answer to our ratings problem. Let's hire Charles Barkley. He's great. He will bring millions of viewers to CNN. Okay, but why are we hiring Gayle King? Diversity, damn it! She's a woman with a masculine last name. This Charles Barkley experiment at CNN, it is exactly why I say that athletes and former athletes getting involved in politics doesn't work, for the most part anyway. You know why Charles Barkley has maintained decades of success on TNT? He's talking about what he knows. Not only is he entertaining, he has a strong level of credibility when he's talking about the NBA because he played in the league for over 10 years. That credibility, it doesn't translate to a cable news network like CNN. Seriously, who considers Charles Barkley to be an expert in politics? But KC, this show is more than politics. It's about culture. It's about life. Okay. Well, answer this. What the hell is a show like this doing on a cable news network? I don't see MSNBC hiring Andy Cohen and bringing Watch What Happens Live to their network. Why? Doesn't fit their format. Now, of course, one of the biggest problems at CNN, they don't seem to have a format. This is a network without an identity. Several months ago, when CNN announced that they were hiring Charles Barkley and Gayle King and putting them on one night a week in prime time, I told you guys this was not going to work. Gayle King hosts the lowest rated morning show on network television. Don't let the last name fool you. Gayle ain't the king of shit. Even though Charles Barkley has a large following, he's not going to be taken seriously in the political realm. Does anyone take LeBron James seriously when he complains about mythical racism from his gated mansion? Does anyone take Steve Kerr seriously when he gets behind the pulpit at NBA press conferences and delivers a passionate sermon on gun control? No. I can sympathize with Steve Kerr on gun control because I understand why he feels so strongly about it. He lost his father to gun violence in Lebanon, I think it was back in the 80s, but it's not his job to be a political activist. He's paid to be a basketball coach. But KC, he's got influence. He should use his platform. Yeah, but It's not his platform. He's using the NBA's platform. Last week, Charles King or Gayle Charles or whatever the fuck they're calling this show, doesn't matter because soon they'll be calling it canceled. Last week, Charles King debuted on CNN with a miserable 500,000 viewers in prime time. It was the least watched debut on CNN in the past 11 years. Now again, this is a network that can't attract my puppy to a fresh turd, and you guys know how much my little puppy loves a good shit sandwich. If it's offered by CNN, she's not interested. I guess you could say that Charles King is fitting right in at CNN. Executives at the network, they're probably pleased with these results. They're accustomed to setting record low ratings. Took Donnie Lemon a few years to set record lows. Took Charles Barkley an hour. Like I told you guys last week, when a new show premieres on a network, the first episode typically will draw higher ratings. After that, the ratings will steadily decline until they eventually settle in on their averages, which is exactly what's happening right now with Charles King. Episode 2 aired Wednesday night. They were facing stiff competition from something called Sistas on BET. The other BET, which is more commonly known as ESPN, they were airing a doubleheader in the NBA. The Real Housewives of Saskatoon was airing on Bravo, but that's okay. That's okay. Charles Barkley, he's used to facing stiff competition. Just like he did in the NBA, Charles Barkley went head-to-head with tough competition and lost. Episode 2, 466,000 viewers, a 7% decline from last week, and barely making the top 100 on cable. To make matters worse, Charles Barkley once again least watched show in primetime on CNN, easily beaten by some of the biggest huge embarrassing failures in the industry. Caitlin Collins, Katie Roo, Jake the Bongo Tapper, Andy Cooper, Wolf Blitzer, woof. Charles King would have been beaten by everyone at CNN if it wasn't for Laura the Coat Hanger. Luckily for Chuck, Laura can always be counted on to finish last place. According to Charles Barkley, his ratings at CNN don't matter. They're irrelevant. He joined Ernie Johnson on his podcast, explained to us plebes why ratings don't matter. Nielsen said our ratings weren't great. Fuck Nielsen, their ratings are irrelevant. No one knows what people are actually watching. I know what people aren't watching. They're not watching Charles Barkley on CNN. And let's get to this narrative that ratings don't matter. You know, I never hear this complaint from Charles Barkley about ratings for inside the NBA. Why? Because their ratings are phenomenal. He's only complaining because his ratings at CNN absolutely suck. There's only one thing that matters to the networks. Ratings. Ratings determine how much you can charge advertisers. Ratings determine whether or not your show gets renewed. It would be like me saying my YouTube views don't matter. They absolutely matter. It's how I get paid. Wednesday night, King Chuck invited a couple of guests onto the program to discuss recent comments made by Donald Trump. Orange Man bad! Just like last week, the panel violated the woke commandments that CNN pretends to abide by. The panel represented a complete lack of diversity. During a recent rally, Donald Trump said that if he won the upcoming election, he was not going to be a dictator except for the first day. Now, I have not seen a video clip of this to understand the full context, but I'm assuming that Donald Trump said this in jest. The shit fucks constantly accuse the Trumper of being a dictator. I assume that he was just making a joke about it. But the lack of diversity panel, they decided to dissect his remarks. Watch it for yourself.
I think he would spend the next 4 years just trying to pay back people who said or did anything to him. And
it would all be about retribution.
It'd all be about retribution. And, you know, we got people out here who need money for their bills. They need, you know, food and things like that. So I don't care who the president is. You're supposed to take care of the people. It ain't about retribution. It ain't about what people said about you in the last couple of years. And that's one of the reasons I'm not a big Trump fan. I'm just not. Because like I say, it's the president of the United States. It ain't for no small little group of nutty people. It's everybody. I don't care if, you know, 'cause, you know, man, you're independent. And I don't have anything against Republicans. I don't have anything against Democrats.
His supporters would object to you calling them nutty people, though.
Well, I only call them that because they are.
Okay, just for a second, let's just forget about Charles Barkley labeling Trump supporters as nutty. Interesting choice of words, considering the fact that parishioners of Woke United Methodist are defecating in the streets, shopping at Louis Vuitton and forgetting to pay, trying to convince your kids that their name is Hello Kitty while teaching them to purr and potty training them in a litter box. Let's forget about all that. Forget about Charles Barkley and his generalization of Trump supporters. Look at this segment purely from an entertainment perspective, because that's what this show is supposed to be, entertaining. Charles Barkley is one of the most entertaining personalities in sports media, but for some reason, when he's paired with Gayle King on CNN, Charles Barkley, he's incredibly boring. And he's incredibly boring because he's outside of his area of expertise. It would be like pairing Tony Romo with the whoopee cushion on The View and having them discuss the partially constructed border wall. Who cares? Charles Barkley is more entertaining when he's calling Zion Williamson a lazy fuck. As a Pels fan, it aggravates me to hear that, but Charles Barkley's right. I wanted him to be wrong, but after watching Zion against the Lakers the other night, I can't argue with him about it. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. It seems like the media has gotten exponentially worse once political and social matters invaded all aspects of entertainment and media. What is that old saying? Something like, jack of all trades, master of none? That's what the media seems to have become. CNN, they have King Charles signed through next year. I don't know if they're going to make it through the contract. The ratings are going to get worse. I could see them settling around 400,000 viewers. You can't have a primetime show in cable news drawing that low of a number. Even if it's only one night a week, it drags down the rest of your lineup. I will give credit to CNN, though, for at least being willing to try something new, try something outside of your typical box, but they have got to choose an identity. What is CNN? Right now, it's a network that hasn't had a true identity in over 2 years. Ever since they fired Chris Cuomo, hey, it's me, Chrissy C. Ever since they fired Chris Cuomo, CNN, they had just been in a steady decline. Whether you like him or hate him, Chris Cuomo, he resonated with the audience at CNN. But anyway, give me your thoughts on this. Charles Barkley's ratings declined 7% in week 2. He lashes out at Nielsen, claiming that ratings don't really matter, when in reality, I think ratings are the only thing that matters for a television show. This ship is sinking fast at a network that already is submerging. Can Charles Barkley save his own show? Let me know. Sound off in the comments below. Like, subscribe, share the video. I appreciate you guys and your continued support. Best way to contact me is by email at btlkc84@gmail.com, KC_BTL84 on Twitter. I'll see you guys later.